Okay. So I want to talk about Charlie Kirk shooting, okay? Okay, so let's have a look. I want to show you from a vantage point where I am, where my office is. Look at the desk here. Look at how thick this desk is. Look at the bricks here. Okay? Okay, look at this corner. Okay? I'm positioned low, okay? There's open there. Someone could shoot me easily from across there or something. You know, that would be like a Charlie, the type of shot. Charlie Kirk from the Golden Beach Pelican water sign. To shoot me that they got Charlie with, that Trump got clipped with as well. So I'm interested in knowing if Charlie Kirk ever received any of the CHN reports, right? Because the CHN reports were sent to the DIA. They were sent to multiple parties in the US that are attached to the Republican Party. Okay. So what I was speaking about was I was telling them, okay, since a Trump assassination, after the Trump assassination attempt, the first one, I said that you're lucky that the guy tried to take a shot from high, because if he was a professional, he would have taken a shot from low, and then somebody took a shot from low. It's not because I said it, it's because I could see it coming, right? I've been telling Billy Joe about stuff, right? Green Day cancelled their Queensland show because someone got stabbed that night. When they were here in the state and I was down in Nambour. Okay. So there was one situation after when I started to talk about all this shit over a year ago, when I said to Green Day and stuff, I was talking about the JFK assassination, shot from down up, from a low position up, and how the shots in the from the book depository and all that shit, nobody heard that, but people heard shots from Daily Plaza, and how if there was a second shooter, that the whole fucking event of somebody getting shot, the assassination and the aftermath, gives the shooter an opportunity to get away and stuff, right? It's all doctrine. Okay. So with me, I know that if somebody shoots at me through here, that mirror is not going to stop a bullet. Okay. That's not going to stop a bullet, but maybe it might slow the bullet. Maybe it might fucking, maybe they might miss. Maybe it might misdirect the trajectory of a bullet. Maybe they might shoot at me and they might not be accurate, and it might ricochet and hit they might come through my computer, hit my microphone or something, or hit a brick or something. It might be. So then I did the math, right? So I was thinking, okay, 223, 303, 6.5, Mauser 6.5. What else? 22. A lot of 22s are used in underworld hits here, right? So I'm thinking the guys around here, they've tried all different other weapons, but if they wanted to silence me and kill me, they'd use a 22. And they just come up and go, bop, bop, right? So with Charlie, right, I've been making all of these assessments and sending these assessments off and being told that I'm paranoid. I just want to make one point. I saw the Charlie thing half a time. Okay. I saw the bullet hit him, and then I haven't looked a second time. Okay. I haven't looked. But I'll tell you one thing that Charlie did wrong. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The way that he sat was a perfect target profile, like a keyhole target. You understand? So, from an exposure perspective, he completely exposed himself to rifle fire, to assassin rifle fire. That's what happened. Okay. The way that he broadcast. Okay. So you see VDH, Victor Davis Hanson. Victor Davis Hanson is a podcaster. He lives on a farm somewhere. I don't know where it is, but you can see he's thinking about where he's, maybe you could see after the shooting, maybe he changed the room that he's in. But you see Rappaport, right? He's got a room where he does stuff. He's probably thought about whether or not somebody could shoot at him from where he's broadcasting. So this is the thing that you guys forget. There's an Oliver Stone movie called Talk Radio, and it's about this Jewish radio broadcaster that pisses all these guys off, and then at the end, Rocket's Red Glare, the guy that was involved in the Nancy Spungen murder and was friends with Sid Vicious and stuff, right? He comes up at the end and goes, boom, 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 and shoots the radio announcer dead, the Howard Stern type of radio announcer. It's an Oliver Stone movie, okay? So when I was famous in Vietnam and they tried to murder me on the street, like the multiple times and the multiple weirdos that I've met over the years, right? When I was famous all around the world, it's just peculiar. They're peculiar motherfuckers, right? But the strange people that I've met around the world over the years and stuff, right? So, and then also being trained for a long time, not for a short time, and thinking these things all the time. So even like at council meetings and stuff, they don't think about this. And so the reason why I talk about all this stuff, and now I'm telling you about darts, right, is like, if somebody was highly trained, they're worried about guns and all this type of stuff. Now the next thing is people using expedient homemade objects as weapons, right? So I can tell you as a bodyguard, right, what the police would freak out about is the fact that if I wanted to kill you, I would just be like, even quicker, like holster, darts. That dart would just go like fucking waska. Okay. So this is the next thing that you guys have to start worrying about, okay, in the security world. But, you know, they already know about all this type of stuff like customs and everything. But that's the next kind of thing. But like with David Christofoli, I was telling him all this stuff. Like, I warned him about his target profile exposure and Rob Skelton's target profile exposure up in Nambour, okay, around a shop where they were selling archery, and there's all these people, alternative political people and stuff around, okay? So what you have to do when you're a public figure is to make sure that you're not exposing yourself. And this is the thing, is I think Charlie Sheen touched on it, right? This is it. So if somebody walked up and did that to a cop, right, they would be like, oh, that was so unfair that someone just walked up and the police didn't expect it and somebody ambushed them and threw the darts at them and stuff like that. It's the same thing with Charlie, right? How unfair is it to shoot someone in the end from an entertainment industry perspective, right? how unfair is it to do that? Like, it's such a travesty. It's such a disrespect to our industry. It's a disrespect to like theater. It's like John Wilkes Booth, right? He did that. He shot the president in the theater. That's a disrespect. That's a disrespect to our art. You shot that man when he was speaking. And a lot of you were waiting for it to happen, but I'd be interested in knowing if if his people or him ever read any of the reports that I sent over to America. Okay. Because, and as I said, this is all important stuff that you have to recognize if you're a public figure. So like Pam Bondi, I'm sure she kind of thinks like this, but I mean, you've got to look at what happened to Versace, what happened to John Lennon. And so after the thing happened up in Nambour, right, Billy Joe was on stage and some kid jumped up on stage and Billy Joe said, and the kid was being violent and everything. And he got close and Billy Joe said, "I will kick your fucking ass." And then everybody said, "Whoa, man. Billy Joe took it too far. He just told a fan that he will kick their fucking ass," right? But it's because I was sending him the reports about what's been going on here. So with me, right, my exposure is when I go to work, when I take the bus to work, when I'm sitting here, all the different, and then like getting a ride back from work and stuff, right? These are the times when at night time when I can get ambushed, where I know I can get ambushed. One time, my friend and I were going from the top of Nambour. I was a passenger from the top of Nambour down into Maroochydore, and we were pursued by a car, and they were trying to like run us off the road and everything, and they nearly did, right? It was crazy. But there's been things like, so I already know like my danger window. So like there was a Harley Davidson show on in Maroochydore that I was invited to. Then there was a police thing that I was invited to. Then there was the show at the Bullcock Street Music Festival. Okay. So I went through all that. Not showing up, wanting to go, not showing up because I understand that when I was nearly beaten to death in 2019, they took advantage Hey, sorry, we went down for a short time. So what I was going to say is, as a public figure, I nearly died in the alleyway. Okay, with my girlfriend, we got set up, and we got bashed real bad. And at that time, I'd been doing security for a long time, but I wasn't really thinking like the rules applied to me. Okay, so you got to think about this all the time, that the rules apply to you. I remember my first meeting in Hollywood. Okay, this is why I'm scared. Okay, my first meeting in Hollywood with Alphonse Ruggiero. Okay, there was this guy that came up to him and spoke to him and thought that he was Brian Cox or something like that. Maybe Brian Cox, the guy out of Braveheart or something, the Scottish guy. And the guy was just acting insanely crazy, obsessive, Mark David Chapman type of dude. I met a guy like that trying to hook into my meeting at my first ever Hollywood meeting. A fucking sociopath that none of us knew, who just came in and jumped into our meeting. Okay. Invited himself into our meeting. That was my first meeting with Alphonse Ruggiero at Fresh Bites and Scott Einbinder with Mike Luring. Okay. One time when I was running in the valley, this guy came up behind me and he looked like the dude out of Last Action Hero, the bad dude that fights Arnold Schwarzenegger on the roof. And he was going to do something bad to me. And I turned around and I was listening to music and I went, what? And he's, oh, like I scared the fuck out of a dude that went to jump me. Got followed around by creepy people in Shanghai. I don't know if they were gangsters or police or military intelligence. But Shanghai, LA, Phnom Penh, a lot of crazy motherfuckers followed me around there. Vietnam, a lot of in some places too. So, okay, so in Cambodia, so you can understand. In Cambodia, there was a girl that was a very famous Cambodian idol singer. And then somebody came to her house and knocked on the door, and she opened the door and he went, bang, 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 bang. Okay. So we fucking know this, man. Our number one environmentalist, Chup Wadi, got killed in this strange situation where he was in his vehicle and then someone put a shot through the back of the seat that he was always in when he was driving around doing his environmental work. Okay. I was in Cambodia when Chut got killed. I'm a big fan of his. The forest savior. So, all of you guys who said all this stuff, right, afterwards, how would you feel if it was like your favorite television host or your favorite celebrity or something like, and that happening? I've got to say, over like the last 5 years or something, I watched that podcast that Charlie did down in Florida when he would speak to all of the OnlyFans and the left-wing women about their ideas about sexuality and stuff. I fucking have listened to that. I listened to that guy a lot and I was influenced by him a lot in the shit that I said. I got to say it. And sometimes, but not all of the stuff. I don't agree with everything. Like I didn't agree with everything that he said, but I used to watch his fucking podcast, man. Right. The last 5 years or something, I've watched his podcast. And I thought of how articulate he was and everything. But the thing is, as I said, after Trump got shot, he was 31. He didn't go to university and he didn't go to he didn't do CIA, DIA, NSA or any type of intelligence work or any military. So that's exposed him to, and security work, right? So that exposed him to particular threats and liabilities. Okay. So it's like, okay, so what we learned after President Reagan was shot, right, is the 8-second window. Okay. 8-second window that, I think it was Hinckley, right? He got, they worked out that if the transition, I know it's about 10 seconds, right? But if the transition, 8 to 10 seconds, the transition from the doorway into the vehicle and the vehicle moving away is within 10 seconds or within 8 seconds, the target profile window from a bodyguard perspective is, it's not completely 100% fucking. So this is it, right? From a bodyguard perspective, when you're walking out of the door, you're assuming that there's someone out there with a rifle that's got a shot on you, on your subject, and then you've got to work out which doorway to take the person out. And then when you see in the movies, right, you see like when it's unrealistic. I'll show you in a movie, you'll see bodyguards moving like this. What a bodyguard will do when they're doing a transition, right? A bodyguard will have the vehicle, the person, and then they'll be like, whoa, your vehicle's moving. That's a transition window on being a bodyguard. That's how fucking that. So when you're taking somebody to a resort and you're their bodyguard, you have to check everywhere to make sure there's no weapons, no bombs, nobody hiding in the cupboard getting ready, nobody hiding in the shower. Okay? All the fucking time you have to think like that. So what type of target profile would, you know what I mean? Like, you got to think about that when you're touring everybody now who's a public fucking figure. What type of target profile am I, what would you say? Demonstrating target profile, because I can tell you, obviously, there's left-wing sickos that are watching us and trying to work out our targeting. They're building targeting profiles on us, and then they're coming after us. They came after Trump. They came after me. They came after Charlie Kirk. Okay. The police think like that all the time because they're hyper paranoid. So with Curtis Lewa was in the vehicle. Curtis used to have to take the taxi home when he was doing his broadcasting, his radio show. So Curtis gets into his vehicle, sits down, and in the driver's seat right here where you are, somebody just turns around and just puts the gun in the thing and goes, Bushka, 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 at Curtis. Then Curtis is like, oh, I got shot. Boom, 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 boom. And then he went out the window. And they, boom, boom, shot him in the leg on the way out. So I've been sending these messages over there like, Curtis Lewa, I think the first message was like, Curtis Lewa, you got shot 6 times, man, and survived. My friend got stabbed nearly 50 times, and I was in this fucked up situation and nearly survived. And stuff like that happened to me in Vietnam too, so I understand where you're coming from. So I want to like send to you like my reports and everything, and to everybody in America, so you can see the violence and all that type of stuff that's going on, and the potential for your threat matrix and your targeting profile as an individual. So Curtis has to think about this shit too now, right? He always does because he's guardian angels, but we've got to think about that. Okay. So thank you, everybody. And it's not illegal to talk about this. It's just security related and bodyguard related work. Okay. I'm sorry for it dropping out, but thank you.